But if you're doing something to defend, as a defensive measure to protect your wealth, you don't want to be in any financial asset you don't want bonds, you don't want bank deposits, you don't want any currency. You have to look to real assets. It seems to me, farmland, timberland, those types of things are a way of protecting yourself. And going back to what you were saying, Richard Russell's thing about he who loses the least in the depression is the winner.
Yes.
You have real wealth when you own farmland.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think that's a good thing to do. And one thing that you said there, I think, is worthy of commentary. It's that the financial business, the financial industry, has expanded like gargantua through this boom. It's huge as a percentage of the economy. People that are traders buying and selling and so forth with other people's money. It's ridiculous. I think the financial industry should collapse to a small fraction of what it is today. I mean, the banking business controls the world. It's ridiculous. The banking business should be nothing but what it used to be, which is a warehouse for money where in checking accounts, you pay the bank for the right to write checks and to store your money safely. End of story. And savings accounts where the bank pays you X percentage and then relends the same money, no more, to other people short term for 2X%. And banking is a very simple business. These huge buildings full of traders buying and selling with the customers' deposits, which have been inflated through the fractional reserve system, it's all going to collapse.
I agree with you on that. I like to draw the comparison to Berlin just during the period of the Weimar hyperinflation. I've seen statistics that something like 17% of the population in Berlin was doing nothing except counting money, printing money, moving money around, because the monetary system had essentially broken down. And what people were trying to do is to counteract the deficiencies of the currency of the time. And I think one of the reasons why the financial industry has built up to the extent that it has in recent years, the past decade particularly, is the same type of thing. The monetary system is breaking down, and the deficiencies of the monetary system are causing people to come up with ways to correct those deficiencies. All kinds of exotic instruments and things of that nature. So I really see that, very similar to the years going to the collapse of the Reichsmark back in Weimar Germany, to a collapse of most of the currencies around the world today, where the financial industry goes back to its normal percentage of the economy, which is really quite small.
It certainly should be. I know I was in Zimbabwe a few years ago, more or less the height of the runaway inflation, and just to buy gasoline, it was a real enterprise. First of all, the law said we couldn't buy it with our US dollars. We had to go out and buy Zim currency, so we had to buy a couple backpacks to put this stuff in, and then they counted with riffling counting machines, a couple of backpacks to fill the Land Rovers up. Huge waste of time and so forth. Meanwhile, people are bartering. It was just criminal.
Yeah, money, I've always made the point, is central to society. It has to be as sound and as efficient as possible. And when it's not, then you have disruptions to economic activity, like you're just describing in Zimbabwe, as a matter of trying to survive rather than actually trying to produce and save.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many things that have to be changed before the U.S. can recover. And it's not just the U.S., it's actually the whole Western world is in exactly the same pickle as the U.S. is. One thing that I advocate is that the U.S. government default on the national debt. And people say, oh, how can you say such a thing? Well, I'll tell you how I can say it. It's because the $15 trillion of acknowledged U.S. debt, and it's more than that, it constitutes a mortgage against future generations yet unborn. And if that debt is going to be repaid, they're going to be turned into veritable serfs to repay it. So it should be defaulted on for moral reasons because of that, because they didn't incur the debt, but they have to pay it so we could live high off the hog. And secondarily, I'd default on it because it will punish people that bought government debt, allowing them to do the idiotic things that they've done with that money. So I have no sympathy at all for the banks and institutions that own government paper. I would default on it, but I would go much further than that, of course.